Well, for our returning veterans, the transition from the front lines to our workforce, as we all know, is a battle in and of itself. Our country has a great history and a tragic history when it comes to dealing with this issue. Think Eisenhower and the roads and the power grid. Think Vietnam and a terrible economy in the wake of that war. The unemployment rate right now for veterans of Iran and Afghanistan remains 5% higher than the national average. That in and of itself is a matter of national shame. It's why our specialist today is leading a new educational program to help America's war heroes find meaningful work for themselves and in the process help our own country resume its quest for prosperity in our own communities. Alana Muller is the president of the Kauffman Foundation's FastTrac Veterans Program. This is a massive problem. We obviously many of us are increasingly concerned about. What is it that you're attempting to do? What do you feel like you know? What do you need to know more about? And what happens next?
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you, Kauffman FastTrac has been offering courses to entrepreneurs for nearly 2 decades.
Of any stripe or shape?
Of any stripe or shape. So we've trained nearly 300,000 people to start or grow companies. One thing we've not done, however, in a very targeted and specific way, is to address the needs of veterans, especially as they return from conflict, as we are experiencing right now, and seek to put themselves back to work. And so one of the things that we can now offer is very tailored, specific courses that will help to meet the needs of veterans in particular.
And can you give us a couple of examples?
Absolutely. So we offer 2 different courses. One will be called FastTrac New Venture, targeted to veterans. And now this is a core course that we've offered for many years. It's for anyone with an idea. So if you have an idea, what we will help you to do is to assess the validity of that idea, to determine if potentially it's truly feasible in the marketplace, and then to review your own plans to see if this
to turn the idea into an operating plan so you can actually try the experiment.
That's exactly right.
Go ahead, Imogen.
Where will the courses be offered? Are they online? Are they in different locations? I mean, how does it work if you want to become involved, if you're a veteran?
So we were very fortunate to receive a grant where we can train 300 veterans. We'll be offering 10 courses in 5 different cities. We will also offer 4 additional courses online. And so if you're in one of the cities, Houston, Kansas City, San Diego, D.C., and in 2 cities in North Carolina, I urge people to please take the courses in person. I think there's something very magical that happens by being in person with your cohort. However, if you're in a location where you are unable to come to a course in person, I think the online classes will be perfect for you.
Alana, not to ask an indelicate question, but a lot of these folks have come back from, a place I can't even imagine, right? How much are they ready to jump into an entrepreneurship course? Isn't there sort of an assimilation? Okay, you've got to get back and mainstream into the workforce. You're going to get on, put a tie on. It's not like suiting up to go out on a mission. How much of that is necessary before they should come?
Or beyond that, even how much of that is somebody else's responsibility that you don't feel you can serve? But in other words, that seems to be the $8 bajillion question. The question is, how much of that do you have to absorb responsibility for, and how much of that is being taken care of to the extent to which it can be inside of our own communities and our own. The only way to deal with something like that is not to put it on the Kauffman Foundation is inside of every community in America to understand that that is what the case is.
Well, I'll tell you, certainly entrepreneurship is not for everybody, right? We're not even purporting that it is. However, directly to your question, soldiers returning from war in particular, they have unprecedented leadership skills. They have the ability to manage and mitigate risk. They are able to team in a way that few people are really aware of. And so all these attributes, including their decision-making abilities, really make them well poised and well positioned for entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and we saw that even with Liz Perez, who's the naval officer with the green and energy independence, and there's all these folks that I don't not to just highlight Liz. But
I'll tell you, Liz is one of our facilitators.
Okay.
One of the exciting things about people like Liz Perez.
You guys remember Liz Perez? Liz Perez was on the show when we were in Austin, Texas. Has the green energy, GC Green out of San Diego. She was on with John Hoffmeister, who was the Shell CEO. Anyway, it was an eye-opening moment for me, actually.
Well, and what's exciting about Liz and people like her is that they will actually be teaching these courses. So not only are they vets themselves who can actually relate to the people sitting in the room, but they've been in the trenches in terms of entrepreneurship. So not only do they understand veterans where they are, but they also understand business and what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
So, Alana, they take these courses, but then what happens after that with the veterans? What happens to them? What kind of, I don't know, programs or supports or something that helps them take everything that they've learned and then move it into something that really does turn them into an entrepreneur, successful or otherwise?
Right. Well, I will tell you, one of the things that I find very special about FastTrac courses, and I will tell you, I too am a graduate of the course, so I can relate to this attribute, and that is that the participants actually form ad hoc advisory councils among the participants that they take the course with. So in addition to creating peer mentorship, they will also get exposure to subject matter experts, people in their own communities who have been successful in business, who can help them in terms of finding their way through entrepreneurship.
It's the moral of the story is that if the community is strong, you have a higher probability of success. And part of this is not just what you're teaching, but you're trying to create a cultural environment where communities can be formed among veterans who have an ambition to do these things.
That's exactly right. And I will tell you, I always say to anyone who is interested in entrepreneurship, don't do this alone. Don't do it alone. It may be your idea singularly, but please surround yourself with others.
Will you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes.
Because we talk a little bit, we all talk a lot about, I talk about the new set of maps and being awake versus being asleep. And when you're awake, you don't know, and you got to solve these problems. And when you're asleep, you think you know, and you just want to fight, But there's also the lone wolf culture in America.
Right.
And that lone wolf culture, which has been very glamorous and very popularized for decades, is actually antithetical to the culture that is required to do what you're talking about.
And that is true. There's this buzzword, the concept of the entrepreneurial ecosystem.
Right.
So those around us who are not only entrepreneurs themselves, but who are investors, who are business people, who have experienced the highs and lows of successful businesses, who can actually share advice, mentorship, and guidance to people who are going through this now. So whether you choose to take a partner on is really, it's inconsequential to this issue. It really is a matter of surrounding yourself with smart people who you can ask questions to candidly in order to propel yourself to success.
And really, what you're talking about applies to the culture in Silicon Valley, away from veterans or the Kauffman Foundation. It applies to the culture of problem solving in an operating room in Hartford, Connecticut. It applies to the, this is really healthy network-based culture.
That's right.
This making them more available to our veterans.
That's exactly right.
Great. Anyway, thank you for the time.
Thank you. Thanks for including me.
And nice to see you, Jonathan. Thanks for playing today. Rob, same to you. And Imogen, happy spring day to you. Your lovely spring blue, and now Rob with his purple. I don't know about you, Jonathan. Usually Jonathan is the one who's all dressed to go, but now I feel like you're dressed like a lawyer today, Jonathan. I feel like you could try a case. Anyway, I'm teasing you. We'll see you guys sooner than later. Next up here, it is actually not just a nice spring day in New York. It's a holiday, my friends. It's Pi Day.